help guys avoid messing up their lives. Of course, your specialty area is the nice guy syndrome. You run, or groups have been built off your book itself, like actual units in cities or chapters, if you will. Can you kind of give a little bit of backdrop on the book and why you created it?
Well, yeah, I tell people it's autobiographical. I'm a recovering nice guy, and what happened is, 20 plus years ago, 25 years ago, I was in my second marriage, and my wife, who was never happy, said, "Well, I can't live with you. You're passive aggressive." I said, "What? I do everything right. I treat you well. I treat you better than your ex. I raise your kids, try to make you happy. You're never happy. You never want to have sex. You're angry all the time." And I thought, okay, all right, I'll go get some therapy and figure out why being a nice guy doesn't make my wife happier. It doesn't make her want to have sex with me more often. And so I started working and doing some therapy on myself and realized, oh, wait a minute. Okay, trying to please people and get their approval, not such a great idea. Not having any kind of boundaries, not such a great idea. Not taking care of my own needs, not such a great. And so I started, learning some things and really how to be more of a mature.
I think I'm sorry to cut in this, Craig, but I think one thing I've noticed for myself is that if you're raised in a certain way, if you're, and I was raised in a family that had both the father and the mother in the house, but if you're raised in a certain environment to where the man kind of feels a need to please the woman, his wife, you're setting yourself up in a way to, it's never going to be enough. The goalpost is always going to be moved, and she's always going to play you. And the thing is, we've got to realize as men, we've got to do for ourselves. We've got to go after what we want in our lives and maintain a certain element of frame when it comes to women. We, again, this is nothing against women. I love women. I'm married. But the fact of the matter, I got a daughter. But the fact of the matter is, we have to maintain a certain frame in our lives, and if we don't, we run the risk of being taken. Well, there's no risk. That's going to happen. You're going to be taken advantage of by spouses, by lovers, by partners, business partners, whatever. You're going to be taken advantage of if there's no boundaries, if you're always trying to please other people and you think that is the way to move forward in your life, and unfortunately, it's not.
Adult, and I started noticing a lot of the couples who were coming to me for therapy. I by training, a marriage and family therapist, and these guys were coming in with their wives or girlfriends and saying the exact same thing I was saying. I'm a nice guy. I treat her well. She's never happy. It's never good enough. When's it going to be my turn? She's angry all the time. Never wants to have sex anymore. But I could finish their sentences for them. So I started an every other week No More Mr. Nice Guy group, and I just started writing, what I was kind of figuring out about this whole thing, about men being passively pleasing and seeking approval and avoiding conflict and giving to get. And I just kept writing over a period of about 5 to 6 years. People said, you need to write a book. You need to go on Oprah. And so I kept writing and wrote a book, and it came out in hardcover about 16, 17 years ago. And, it still sells well. In fact, the royalty checks get bigger every year. So that's a good thing. And, back when I wrote it, about the only thing that was out there for men was like, Iron John, Robert Bly, Michael Meade, which, good stuff. But, about all men had was, kind of go out in the woods with some brothers and beat a drum and have a talking stick and say, oh. So I'm just thrilled that with the World Wide Web, there's resources like you guys, and there's men helping men all over the world, and they keep recommending the book to other men.
One other thing on Dad real quick too is, unfortunately, I think also with men's groups and men, I mean, definitely we need to have men helping men, but we need to also understand that we have been feminized so much. We've been beaten down by this narrative, this imperative of feminism and female empowerment and everything else, that we've forgotten ourselves, and we put women first in our lives, and they are the reason why we do what we do. They are the reason, and we have to make their lives better, even if we can't, and even if they're the ones messing it up. We got to come in and play white knight and clean up the mess they made and make everyone respect them, even if your wife, is having a problem with her own kids or her adult kids or whatever. It's like you feel the need to come in and clean up and take care of everything for her, and to be the white knight, and it's like we have got to and we're putting women first, like ahead of ourselves. It's like you got to put your own oxygen mask on first. You can't save her. You got to save yourself, and you got to do what you got to do for yourself. There comes a point to where we got to understand that we can't always save these women, and and maybe honestly they're not worth saving, and especially when it comes to our peace of mind and our mental health. And they're just not. And the fact is, everything is so feminized now. There's so much, it's indoctrinated into our lives and into our culture that we keep each other in line. It's like when I was in a men's group, we tend to kind of keep each other in line, and if we don't, if somebody steps out of line and complains about something in their lives that they go along with maybe something to do with kids or their wife or whatever, and they're saying, hey, look, I had to put my foot down or whatever. One thing that actually happened to me is they told me in a men's group when I was complaining about something and I told them I had to put my foot down on something. One guy from the group actually said, hey guys, repeat after me, get off my lawn, in a way to say that I was being wrong to the everybody else, to the kids, to and it's like, no. We've got to understand that we've been indoctrinated by this bullshit.
I'm sorry, Rich, I didn't hear what you said.
You always get out of life what you tolerate when it comes to women, when it comes to business partners, when it comes to friendships.
Yeah. What if we just assume that all women have some degree of crazy to them, and that's not to be dismissive, we may have our own crazy. Let's just assume they have some degree of crazy. Let's go out and pick, the least crazies of the bunch, but let us set the tone of what they get to do when they're around us. And I know I've told women before, I'm going to train you how you have to be if you want to hang out with me. And sometimes they bristle at that a little bit, but they seem to keep hanging out with me anyway. Because I remember I was dating one woman, just as an example, and she worked in the mall in retail. That's how I met her. And so we would often go meet at a happy hour at a Ruth's Chris restaurant there in the mall. And she'd get off work and she'd come sit down at the bar. I'd usually be sitting there talking to the bartender, who I've known now for probably 15 years. And she would lay in to either how bad her day was in retail, the customers or co-workers or her boss.
See, that's something, Joe. I wanted to cut in real quick and just say this, that women, I think, had this notion that they are worth more as they get older and as they earn more money or get a better job or whatever. And that's not true. Men, like Robert Glover, Dr. Glover was talking here, about dating someone that worked in the mall. Men that make six figures, they don't care about women that work in the mall, that work retail. They don't, you can be a just above minimum wage type girl, and they don't care. That's not our thing. We don't care about that kind of stuff. And, that's one, they always tell men that they're superficial. You're superficial because you want, a round ass or whatever. And it's like, but you're superficial because women want men that a lot of times, not always, but very often they make a certain amount of money. And, but yeah, I mean, but I wanted to add that we will date somebody who makes much less money than we do. That's not a big thing. And I think that's one thing women have to understand that are 35, 40 years old, divorced, with a kid or two. And they're like, well, why aren't I getting the dates that this 25-year-old bimbo is getting, that works, at Wendy's or, whatever. And it's like, well, the reason being is because that's not what men look for, a nice looking body, a nice looking face. And I hate the way they sound, but they do. They look for a nice looking face, nice looking body, and a nice personality. Somebody that's going to be kind of sweet and submissive in a lot of ways. I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean that in a way of they're not going to be harsh and hard. And men don't like that, And I think there's one thing I wanted to put out there.
Or she'd had a conversation with her mother, who always drove her fucking crazy, and she'd start our date with just, and I had to train her. I caught that early on. I said, okay, you're on the clock. You got 5 minutes. I said, give me everything you want to complain about, and then after 5 minutes, we're on a date. There is no more complaining. There's no more taking cell phones out. We're just hanging out with each other, having a good time. And once I started doing that, her complaining actually would only then take about a minute or two, because she didn't actually want to sit and complain either, but just it's a habitual thing that the feminine tends to do, especially when they've had to be in their masks, doing, doing. It kind of wears on them, and they get whiny and complaining. So I said, all right, complain. You're on the clock. And once I put her on the clock, she never took a full 5 minutes. And then she would say, thank you. I didn't want to sit here and complain all night anyway. So that's on us, where we can lead. And it's a gift that we give the women in our life. It's not control.
Yeah, I mean, that's one thing I've noticed in my own life is women tend to complain more so than men do. I'm sorry for not all men, not all women. But most of them, they do. They kind of, that becomes the way they communicate, is they walk into a room and they say, and then it comes, and it's like, it's going to come, and then they don't stop. They continue on with something. It's like, then it goes on something else, and and by the way, blah blah blah, and that also reminds me, this person cut me off in traffic, and and they were just so rude, and it happens, and it happens constantly, and it's like like he said, a lot of them are going for 3 or 4 minutes, 5 minutes, or whatever, and it's like, but after that point, man, it becomes, I get it, it kind of sucks the life out of you in some ways, a lot of guys. And the thing is, man, I don't know about a lot of guys out there, but it's like, it's hard to be sexual with a woman or want to be sexual with a woman after that. And I know that sounds like harsh, but like I don't want to go to the bedroom right after you told me about everything that went wrong, including the, somebody stepping on your toe or somebody looking at you the wrong way or something at the grocery store. I'm not, I don't want anything after that point. I don't want to move to go to the bedroom. So, but yeah, I totally get what he's saying.
It's a true, genuine gift.
Got a couple of super chats here. One guy says, well, I'll deal with it in two parts. So one guy says, does being funny attract women? There's another question from says, how does one stop being this guy? Not so much in the dating phase, but in the long-term relationship.
I'll answer the second question first. There's a really good book taken by. That's a good start. Buy the book No More Mr. Nice Guy to learn how to stop being a nice guy. And being funny doesn't attract women. I know David D'Angelo, Evan Pagan made his fortune off the cold, cocky, funny routine. Women, I believe, are attracted to confident men, and confidence shows in a lot of different ways. And one of the ways it could show is a sense of humor and being kind of bold and maybe kind of daring with your humor. And I know personally, I can be a funny guy, and I can wear that out. I know if I'm like being too funny, telling too many jokes. I don't tell canned jokes, but too many haha. It's because I feel anxious. Women can pick up on that. So if you're like being funny out of anxiety or trying to make an impression, that will probably be a turnoff to women. But if you're just a naturally funny guy and you don't make too many references to Lord of the Rings or Star Wars or shit like that women are bored to tears with, if they have no clue what the joke's even about, that's not going to help you at all.
Yeah, I had a similar answer forming in my mind that humor is a vehicle, and it can portray different things. It can portray desperation and anxiety, like you're talking about if you go too far, but it can also portray or convey some of the things that women absolutely do select for, which is confidence and intelligence. Because if you have humor, by definition, you have the ability, you have a nimble mind, and that's something that is absolutely attractive to women.
Yeah, and that nimble mind is not the same as telling jokes. It's about being able to see stuff like right that in the moment and not holding back. I did a poll several years ago and asked several women, why are you attracted to a man who can make you laugh? And I got several different answers, but usually it said it feels like he knows me. I get a sense of security. It feels like I'm a little girl, and daddy's playing with me, and I feel safe. One woman who I actually happened to be dating at that time, she was one of about 4 women I was dating at that time. She said, if a guy makes me laugh, I don't care if he's homely, I'll do him. and it just because that for her that turned her on. So, but that's got to be that genuine, in the moment, sharp wit. That's not trying to be funny. That's not trying to impress, but that's not holding back. And I think it's the not holding back that benefits a guy.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and cut the video here, guys. But the one thing I really wanted to get into was the whole white knight kind of thing, and that's why I wanted to do this video, because I think again that's something we do. We want to fix, rush in there and fix whatever problem the woman's going through, but we can't really do that. And it's not advisable for so many different reasons. But also, you talk about displaying a sense of confidence and yeah, I mean, I've noticed that myself, like, you don't have to always be funny, but sometimes being funny is, like you said, not holding back. And if you don't hold back, you portray this, you give off this sense of confidence this ability to take charge over a situation, and if you don't hold back, you definitely are displaying that. But yeah, again, guys, I wanted to go over the white knight syndrome stuff, and because that's something, man, we've got to stop. We've got to stop that. We've got to, and we deserve what we tolerate. If we tolerate certain things, that's what we deserve. And if we, in the unfortunate thing is, so many times, man, we have been conditioned the way that our fathers did things, or other men in our life did things. And right now, with the female imperative, we are conditioned to give in to women, to try to fix their lives, and we can't. We can't fix what they're messing up. We can't do that. And that's something that's going to affect us and going to affect our lives. And it's definitely, and it's not going to help them either, because it gives them a very unrealistic sense, and they end up continually screwing up their own lives over and over again. I mean, they're older and still doing it, and I mean, there's one friend of mine, a female friend of the family that I'm not going to say her name, obviously, but every time I talk to her, she, hi, Eric, and she tells me about whatever is happening, whatever is going on, whatever is wrong, and how she's the absolute victim of everything. But the funny thing is, people are victims of her. She victimizes other people. And if you are around her too much, you will wind up becoming her victim. And it's like, but she will tell you about everything that's going on. And, and again, guys, it's something we got to be aware of and be careful of. But I'm going to go ahead and stop it here. But thanks for watching, and please like and subscribe to the channel. Thanks.
You son of a